All right. So, how you been? Did new Nintendo Direct yesterday?
Oh yeah, no, so fucking Unity has made the dumbest decision of their collective career.
Oh yeah, that too. And I've also been watching the One Piece on Netflix.
It's very good.
Oh yeah. So
It's
that's
absolutely
three
phenomenal.
subjects we could talk about today. Which do you want to start with, Joey?
Let's start with Unity because it's the most pressing and it deals with all games.
Okay. So about the Unity problem. Yeah, people are just gonna stop using Unity and go over to Unreal.
Oh, yes and no. Some companies don't have the affordability to do that. That's where this problem.
Ugh.
They just can't do it. They're stuck. They've been trapped into this situation. In fact, there are multiple developers that have said, "Well, I have spent 5 years of my life building you into Unity, and now you have put me in a position where I literally cannot shift out of Unity. Well done. I am now trapped in this situation."
So there are two aspects to this. One is there's a class action lawsuit in the work,
Yes,
as
there
people
is,
could be afraid,
as there should be.
as
This
there
is
should
this
be.
is something that the FCC, that the people that allowed Microsoft to buy Activision probably will let them get away with too, though, because they let them get away with Activision, the merger with that, and that was a piece of trash.
And then the other thing about this is because it's only for like the first like million sold that don't get charged. I think some really small indie developers aren't going to be too badly affected by this.
Well, the issue isn't necessarily that they're initially affected. The issue is that this opens the gate to getting it changed without telling people, because
That's true.
Unity has famously done that before.
But then also like once that initial like all of those games that once those games that are stuck in it are done and dusted, which again for the first million isn't gonna affect them too badly. Um, and they could just pull Call of the Lamb where they pull it just as it's about to pull a million. Um, then they could just switch to Unreal. Then they could be done with it.
I think that's very I don't know, it seems pretty hopeful, and I'm glad for it. I just I know how these types of things tend to work.
Oh, it's gonna be
If you look
rough, and I
around
wouldn't be surprised if we lose an entire indie developer over it.
oh no, we're losing a couple right now. Like Cult of the Lamb is getting pulled from Steam, and a couple other games are getting pulled in general
Yeah,
as
but we're
well.
not losing the developers, just the games.
I mean, some devs we're probably going to lose. As I
Yeah.
said, some devs just aren't big enough to fight this properly. So, like, what are they supposed to do? They can't do shit. This is predatory, is the point. We
Yes.
can't look at this with any positives because there are none to be had.
And I'm hoping at least with the class action lawsuit, even if they can't like stop it altogether, they can at least get the games that were like in the middle of being developed to at least be free from it.
Well, do you know the back information on this too?
Now,
So, the CEO of Unity was selling 2,000 shares a week before he did.
oh yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, no, the big thing here is he's just being a scumbag.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if we're being logical here, this is not a functional way to format something unless you're just taking care of your shareholders. This is literally just for the shareholders.
Oh
There's
yeah.
nobody else that would ever be.
Yep. As it tends to happen in capitalism, horrible capitalistic crimes. It's just for
Yeah,
the
no, I
shareholders.
mean, so this is a big deal. I had been looking around on Twitter threads all day yesterday and the day before when I found out, just realizing there's a lot of devs talking about this shit. There's a lot of devs.
Oh
Like it's
yeah.
not even just one. It's like who's not going to give a shit? Nintendo because they have the money to make their own engine.
They
Same with
also could
PlayStation.
just like eat a game that is stuck on Unreal. They could just eat
Well,
it pretty
they
effortlessly.
do. They do sometimes, but you got to keep in mind when they do, it usually isn't a first party game. Nintendo makes their own engines.
Yeah. Um, I think another thing though is that this is a class action lawsuit, and there's going to be a lot of devs on that class action, which I think will have like a lot more pushback than the whole merger situation. Like, there's more
They
legal pushback.
the big thing here is uh, they're both equally bad.
Yeah. It's just, with the Activision Blizzard one, the only person in the room was Activision Blizzard telling people to push it through. Whereas in this one, there's going to be at least some tug of war for it. So, yeah. So, yeah, we'll have to see. It's just one of those things where we have to see how it plays out before we can get like a full grasp of what's gonna happen.
Well,
Because there's
it is
a lot of different things that could happen.
it's pretty easy to see what will happen. I guarantee you they're gonna eat a fine. They're just gonna eat a fine, but they're gonna do it.
And hopefully after that, everyone just switches to Unreal. This,
Unreal is not necessarily feasible as the only. See, keep in mind, you're dictating this as Unreal is the only one, and that's a problem too, because you put Unreal in a position where it can do the same thing if it wants. And
uh,
they honestly, if you look at the price ranges right now, they're not far off currently from what Unity is going to be.
uh,
That's why people don't tend to use Unreal as often.
yeah.
So if we're talking about this logically, it doesn't make sense either way.
What?
Havoc still exists. There's all these engines like the Frostbite engine, the the Anvil engine if that one becomes open source.
I wonder if we could get like all of the indie developers who are who are in this class action lawsuit, if we can, since we have them all in the room, we get them together and have them make their own freeware engine for indie developers. And just
People
be like,
might do that. That's a possible net good out of this. But another issue here is what is Xbox going to do, right? They're the indie guys. What is Sony going to do, right? They use Unity a lot.
so that's another thing. It's not just indie guys that are going to be upset by this. Like, even if they can eat it, doesn't mean they want to eat it. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but remember what I said earlier. Like my question isn't to what will they do with it. My question is to uh, what are they going to do to make it harder for other developers? Because the big thing here is Sony can just make their own fucking one, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, I think if Sony really wanted one, they could just buy Ubisoft and then use Anvil.
Yeah.
And that's the Assassin's Creed engine.
I don't know. It depends on whether Sony believes it's easier to just, stop this, or if they believe it'd be easier just to get Anvil, their own. you know?
It's Sony's a banking company and a gambling company. They will do whatever it takes to make it seem like there's nothing wrong on their end, which means they're going to curb out anything that looks like weakness. So, my expectation with this is Sony is going to start buying properties again because they just got done with a loss. In the midst of that loss, they bought 1/3 of From Software. So,
so,
what's the next step?
we mentioned building their own engines. If the main companies build their own engines for that's freeware for indies. That's like, hey,
Yeah, they
you could be indie if you could use this engine if you go exclusive for us.
yeah, they don't build accessible good engines though. though. Like if you look at some of their games, the only one that has like a consistent good track record as an individualized indie dev is RPG Tokyo RPG Factory, and they've only made 3 games.
Yeah, it's just well, but like I do wonder if they could, like it's
Well,
not
yeah,
that
they
they
could.
do because a
Well,
lot of their
they
engines are
have the
hyper
resources.
specialized, but could they?
They have the resources. Of
Yes.
course, they could. Nintendo, for example, as I said, all of their first party games are in their own engines. They just use assets. Like Breath of the Wild uses Havoc for physics.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Havoc would be the third biggest one. So if people were to go to anywhere else, Havoc would be it. And then you have Source as number 4. Because Source, even though Valve doesn't like people to say it, it's open.
Well, Source is
Uh,
also very let's
Source
just
is it's a rough old school engine,
yeah.
but a lot of
It's a
old school
rough
style games.
usage.
But Source 2 is not. Source 2 was used in Half-Life Alyx, which it looks okay.
Is Source 2 open too?
Yeah, they're all open.
Hmm.
I mean, the only ones that aren't open are the ones we don't know what their names are. For example, the one that Nintendo uses on their first party properties. Some of the ones used in Sony. I think Microsoft has gained one with the Activision Blizzard acquisition. But the only one that like is truly untouchable right now is Nintendo's. Like nobody has figured out, or if people have figured it out, they haven't translated it into a game yet.
I wonder if we could get more stuff like RPG Maker, where it's just like sort of an engine, also just sort of a toolkit. Here, have this, do whatever the fuck
We
you want with
could.
it.
I mean, that's the big thing with why Mario Maker was so good. They
Yeah,
kind of gave you the building blocks without telling you what the ship was. Like they had you build blocks on their ship. They didn't tell you the name of the ship.
that's why Nintendo having its own indie engine actually does not sound like wrong in my brain.
Well, Nintendo's greedy. It sounds very wrong to me. Nintendo's very greedy. They're not for indie games, they're for shovelware.
Hmm.
Because the
No, well,
money comes in from shovelware.
think of all
So
the
that
shovelware they can get if they have their own engine to give it, that people can just use.
well, shovelware, you know what shovelware is, right? That's just video game concepts that are thrown onto a console
Yeah,
with no effort.
yeah. I think RPG Maker doesn't have shovelware out its ass.
RPG Maker does have shovelware, but initially it did not.
Just depends on how you make the tools as it goes.
Well, you can make them accessible and helpful, or you can make them pretty basic. And I tend to ask people to err on the side of accessible and useful.
It just depends on what the companies want to do. But if they do it, I called it here.
I mean, I'll be real. You're probably gonna be right. Like this is kind of like one of those things where the sun is gonna come up tomorrow, because eventually all things lead into that.
I think that's why I'm so optimistic about this, because I'm looking at this, I'm like, I'm seeing a lot of bad paths, but I'm seeing a lot of like not bad paths too. So it's like, yeah,
Well,
we'll
most
just
of
have
them
to
do
see what
bad.
happens.
Most of them do bad shit. So the issue here comes in too with the fact that the video game companies consolidated their power in a bunch of purchases. That by itself is bad.
Yeah,
So we can't necessarily give them a pass because they made an indie dev screening too. This could also just be another way they can pull the wool over your eyes on
this is true.
and keep buying up indie devs. And what is it that Ubisoft famously did? Oh yeah, they recorded record profits and then fired 500 people.
Oh yeah.
And that's not uncommon in the gaming community. So like, I don't trust them to make good
Joey, the correct
decisions.
term is reorganized their.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Reconstructed their studios.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? They can suck off a studio. But yeah, no. I mean, the big thing here too is what do we expect from our game? Because like they're businesses. Like Stephanie Sterling makes a very good point with that, is that they are businesses, and gamers tend to not expect much out of their games. And you have two types: ones that when they see a message in a game are like, "Well, I don't want it to be complicated," and one that's like, "Well, that's an interesting message." So, what should we expect from the gaming companies at the business level, though? Because they're a business. Should we expect them to be held accountable? Should we expect them to be consistent? Should we expect them to be listening to their fan bases, not just on what they want in their games, but what they want in the game dev space?
So this is something I've noticed quite a bit throughout the game industry, and ultimately, as I've seen consistently, at the end of the day, the answer is for them to make good games, because like they'll come up with scummy shit. And then that scummy shit will get old, and then people will stop like paying it. Like people have stopped like paying as much attention to pay to win games or like free to play games. Like that
That's not
well
true.
is drying up slowly.
No, it's not. Do you want to know how I know?
Ow.
Because they've built new championship competitions for games like Genshin Impact, for games like Pokemon Go. These are new things
So I mean
that are
like really
predatory.
scummy ones.
Those are really scummy
Yeah,
ones.
they're not that scummy.
Pokemon, dude, have you even kept up with Pokemon Go? Can you say anything that you know yet?
Wait, Go? Wait, how bad has Go become?
It's basically pay to win.
Ugh.
Genshin Impact is the same way. The drop rates on it are bad. I've been doing streams with a guy who's been doing only gacha games, so I know exactly what they look like. They are scummy. Every single one of them expects you to pay a bundle for the chance to not even get one sub. And people will do it. They're bad. They're still very bad. Like the days of Candy Crush are not over.
I don't know. It just feels like they're maybe not gone, but they're like. I feels like there's less of them.
All right,
It
all right.
feels like
I'll
games
say
have been
this
getting a
again.
little bit more like less.
Microtransactions are more prevalent than they've ever been in the gaming sphere, Jesse. They're
Uh,
more prevalent. They've come in almost every single game that's even AAA that's come out recently in some fashion. Every Assassin's Creed, ever since fucking goddamn Origins, has had microtransactions, and they've just ramped up in price and obscenity. This is a known thing. They aren't getting better. They just aren't. They're getting worse. Like gambling only gets worse when it's left unchecked, because that's what this is. It's a gambling string. And it makes them money. It makes them money. I listened to a man who makes these little games on iOS dictate what he's looking to get from you. Immediate gratification followed by a decline. And it works. They make tons of money, even on ones we don't even know the names of.
that.
So that's still a problem. That's not even just still a problem. That's one of the major issues in gaming right now. Is this gambling addiction has exacerbated itself, and now it is a bigger thing than it was when we first saw it. And we can blame Xbox for it because they're the first people that brought microtransactions into the realm for major games. Like they were not on major games until Xbox brought them on.
Oh yeah, I still remember horse armor for the Xbox
Yeah,
360.
DLCs, big start of it. I mean, there's a difference too. I talked about this with a man the other day. Expansions and DLCs are different. What do expansions do? Well, there's a completed game, and you can expand the game to have more games than just a completed game. So it's like you have double the game. So Ultima 7 is a full game, right? I get the Serpent Isle, and that doesn't just add shit to my current game. That gives me a full new game to play with.
Well, and like not
And
all expansions even cost money. Some of them are just like here, more game.
some of them are dropped, but like the thing I'm dictating isn't necessarily an expansion, like I think what you're thinking of, which is just expanding the current game. It's a new game, a new game. That was what expansions used to be. They were a new game. You would pay for a new game. World of Warcraft had a bunch of expansions that were new games. Uh, fucking. I was gonna say with Ultima Serpent Isle, it didn't just expand the game to give me a new game. It updated everything in the game. It had better graphics, better controls, better UI, better ability to do things, new story, voice acting. These are things that they just were like, hey, we can make another game for this, and we want to make it as an addendum. We're going to give you this. It's not a lot of money
So
because we just didn't have time.
I'm thinking about like the current Pokemon DLC, right?
It's
Where
it's okay.
well, and I was like looking at it. It's $35, Joey. That's
Yeah,
so
it's
much
okay.
money.
I think it's worth like 25.
I haven't played it yet. I was just looking at it, and
I
I'm
I
just
played it. I'm
thinking
I'm
to
telling you,
myself.
I'm right.
I'm thinking to myself. The original Pokemon Scarlet did not feel like a complete game. Why are you
I
charging
mean,
me so much?
it felt like a complete yet kind of broken game, unfortunately, because the scope was fun.
Yeah. No, it had the bones of a fantastic game. It was just missing some of the meat.
Well, it was literally just the glitches for me.
Just the glitches. I thought the glitches were funny.
Oh, I know, but you're that kind of gamer. I mean, if we're talking, let's be honest here. Unilaterally, people don't look for glitches,
Yeah.
especially in a Pokemon game. Unless you're playing Gen 1. But the game itself plays fine. It's better than Sword and Shield by a country mile. Sword and Shield was absolute garbage in my mind because
Oh
they didn't
yeah.
have their wild zones were too small and their fields were too small, and they didn't like figure out like there could have been a balance here, right?
Right.
There could have fields be transitionary zones that were much smaller and had the fields be ginormous, but they didn't. And yes, I'm saying that was small. For anybody listening to this that thinks they weren't small, you're insane. Okay, Breath of the Wild came out on the Wii U. Shut up. So the big thing here
They're
is
smaller than what Twilight Princess had. Twilight
it's
Princess came out
smaller
on the
than
GameCube.
it's smaller than just one of the maps in Twilight
You
Princess,
know what?
and it came
It's
out.
smaller than the freaking Ocarina of Time field. Or it's
It,
roughly
it's
about that
around,
size.
yeah, it's roughly about the size of Ocarina of Time field, and that is actually kind of unacceptable in my mind.
And that's an N64 game.
It's true, and like, how do you get away with it? How do you get away with that? Well, you get away with it
It's not
by
like the
having a
Pokemon
family.
models were like super high quality and eating up a lot of
Well,
engine.
I mean, I think as we said back in Sword and Shield, they literally just had to upres them. They did. Somebody did a data mine and found that shit out. And then they're like, "Oh, well, no, we couldn't have done that for reasons. It's reasons." But like, if you're data mined, you need to disprove the data mine. You need to not say no, it's not true. Disprove the data mine.
Oh, I saw a hack where somebody upresed all the models. It looked good.
I mean, the bottom line here is they're all HD models. They are. They're not 4K models, they're HD models.
Yeah.
And that was back on the 3DS.
Yeah, they're all I think it was Sun and Moon models. No, it was X and Y models. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Because X and
And they
Y
were
had
all
the
HD.
flying battles, and that's why all Pokemon fly if they can, even if it looks
Yep.
awful. Charizard.
Yard. I mean, Charizard is okay flying
He's
compared to
okay,
some other
but
Pokemon. Compared to some other Pokemon.
yeah.
Like fucking Dodrio, dude, dog.
Oh, You
Yeah,
know,
that thing can fly.
a lot of people were making fun of the Wingle animation because it's just like so bland, but like Wingle looks really good with his wings folded up on the ground, man. When he's
He
done
does,
gliding.
but everything else looks awful. So that doesn't really matter.
Zatu
Everything
can't be
else
a
is awful.
fucking totem pole like he's supposed to be if he's flying. God damn it.
That's true, but they made the totem pole out of a bird instead of like a not bird. So that's their fault.
Well, I think it's fine, but it's still like you just don't make him fly. That's all. You just don't make him fly. Put him on the ground.
Why?
So he looks more totem poley.
Oh, I mean, then why is he a bird?
Because a lot of totem poles are birds.
Right, but like, why is he a bird?
I don't know.
Exactly. You don't know. No. But no, I do think that it's important to have some cohesion between what they're based upon and what they can do. So him flying makes some sense to me.
And I know a lot. We were harping on like the animations and stuff, but I do have two things to say about that. First of all, they cut half the decks, and I was like, okay, so you're gonna work on the Pokemon that are left over, right? No, they didn't. And second of all, you don't have to fix every Pokemon animation. Just a few of them are bad that you could just kind of iron out. You don't have to recreate all the Pokemon all the time. Just look at some of the bad ones and be like, you know what? Tweak those.
If anybody has the money to do it, it's the third most profitable video game franchise in the world.
Well, it's the
So I
most
don't want to hear
profitable
that.
like IP franchise in
No,
the world.
Mario is.
No, Pokemon
Mario,
is like
Mario's about to go look.
what? Did
The
Mario beat him?
Super Mario franchise has been above them forever because it includes all their side games. Go look up most highest grossing video game franchises, and you will see it includes all the side games.
Oh, yeah, I'm not including just the like Pokemon's got all the
That includes Pokemon side games too.
has all the merch and stuff.
Yep, even the merch. This includes Mario merch as well.
Because I remember people were talking about it that you know.
They are not the highest grossing. They are not. It has been Mario for fucking ever. And that is why Mario is still considered the main IP because Nintendo owns Pokemon, but they do not paint them as the main IP for that reason.
Nope, Pokemon's the best in the world. Better than anything, even video games.
Where'd you look in?
Let's see. Turtle Max has one that's bigger than Hello Kitty, which is number 2.
Highest grossing video game series of all time. That includes their merch.
I have it under most profitable IP.
Most profitable IP. Profitability is different than grossing.
Let's see.
So
Pokemon
are you talking
franchise
about how
is the
much money
highest grossing media franchise in history. Nope, it's gross. This includes gross.
it's
So yeah, no. Pokemon
oh
is.
I find that to be wrong. I find that to be wrong. I don't see that that's correct anymore, especially with how much the fucking Mario movie grossed recently.
Yeah, no. Pokemon is and not just video games. Bigger than Mickey Mouse, man. Let's see.
I'll be real for now.
Pokemon.
Like the big thing here is you keep in mind what they're losing out on their current dev team cycle
Oh my God, Winnie the Pooh
because
is
they lost a
beating
lot of
Mickey
talent.
Mouse. Eat it, China. That's hilarious. Yeah, no, just
Yeah, no, Mickey Mouse hasn't been profitable for a while, but there's a reason for that. Have you seen much Mickey Mouse like TV shows? Like
There
there's
was that
one
really good one that
right
came
now.
out, and then there was that video game that came out. But yeah, they don't do much with Mickey. He just kind of sits around and collects money.
A remake. Well, first off, the game is a remake of a game, and it's an okay game. Second, the TV show is a non-verbal meme show. They don't really make movies about him anymore. He was in Kingdom Hearts, and every time Kingdom Hearts comes out, he bumps in popularity for a second.
Wait, was that
But
TV show
otherwise,
nonverbal?
no. Huh?
Was that TV show nonverbal?
It's memeable.
Mimo. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a meme show. It's not really there for the like. It's as good a comedy as like Teen Titans Go,
I
but which is
mean,
solid, but like not.
I've seen some clips. It seems more or less lying with what Mickey usually does. Just goofy one-off shots.
I mean,
That's
old school
that's
Mickey,
what Mickey
yes.
does. That's what
No,
Mickey do,
Mickey's
my
like
dude.
you're completely forgetting the entire like 50 years that he had where he made like what like movies and TV shows where he would talk, dude. I think that you've only watched a little bit of Mickey Mouse stuff.
Yeah, I've only watched a little bit, but I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
I
he had like
think
50 years where he was talking and shit. That was his most famous persona. In fact, in the 90s, I would say Mickey was a dangerous property.
he. Hold on, now I gotta look it up. Hold on.
Because that was during the Disney Renaissance.
Yeah, he talks in this.
Okay. So, talks like, what happened?
Yeah, he
Is
has a.
not talking.
He does. He says
That is
sentences,
mumbling.
and people say sentences
That's
back to him.
all right. So I'm gonna say it again. It's not the same. Not the same. Go watch an old
they,
Mickey Mouse
they
thing
they
like
don't
I'm
talk a
talking about.
lot, but they talk a little bit. You know, it's just.
Okay, okay. My point wasn't that they don't talk a lot. My point is it's not the same. I said it's not the same.
It's not exactly the same, but I think it's got the same spirit. Same
Oh no, it
spirit.
does not. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. As I said, you haven't watched Mickey Mouse, man. What do you mean it's got the same
I've
spirit?
watched a little bit.
That's not enough to say whether or not it has the same spirit. I don't
Okay,
feel
well,
like.
you know what? I feel like this argument's gonna go nowhere then, because
Well, no, I'm trying to get you to actually watch Mickey Mouse so you can make a
well, I
determination later.
will. I can't do it right now though. That's why this
Like it's on
conversation's gonna
Disney
go
Plus.
nowhere. It's like it ain't going nowhere because I can't
No,
do anything.
it went somewhere. You know how I know? Because you said you'll watch it. What do you
Oh,
mean?
well, I was gonna watch it anyway, so.
You never. Okay. All right, Jesse. Okay. All right, buddy.
I watched clips, you know. I didn't watch like the whole show, like everything, but you know, which clips were circling around. I kept watching a
Well,
bunch of them.
not that one. They have all of his movies and stuff on Disney Plus that you can take a peek at.
Oh, you
It's
mean like
not
the
just
old movies? I used to watch those, like the Three Musketeers and stuff. Yeah, I used to watch those.
yeah, like the verbal ones. Those are what I mean. That's not the same.
Oh, well, God, you might as well rag on the show for not being Kingdom Hearts while you're at it.
Oh,
Yes,
there,
Mickey
that's
has
not the
had a
same.
lot of different scenarios and done different things. That doesn't mean like this show is like, oh, it doesn't count. It's
It's
like
not as profitable objectively.
I thought it was pretty profitable. Last
I
I
mean,
checked, a lot of people watched it.
a lot of people sure did watch it. How many people bought the tapes? Because a big thing here is when you put a thing on a streaming service, that doesn't dictate profitability quite as much as buying a tape.
I don't know.
That's what a lot of that's what a lot of people found out when remember when Black Widow came out and she had an issue because she couldn't get money from it. They put it on a streaming service, which streamlines the situation of getting the money. That's why the Jackass movies, most of the guys making it, don't get royalty checks anymore because the money goes to one place, the streaming service. So if we're talking profitability here, tapes are a little bit more profitable in terms of like you get the monetary incentive right away than a streaming service. Streaming services are profitable by nature of existing, not necessarily because
I
they
mean,
have
yeah,
certain shows. And I
profitability.
guarantee.
I was just saying Mickey Mouse just hasn't done much lately. I literally said that at the beginning of this, and I was
No,
like,
I know, and then all of a sudden I had to argue my point of it's not, it's just a meme show, and I'm like, it is. That's why people watch it
yeah.
because it's memeable.
I don't know how we got into an argument about this. It sounds like we
I don't.
agree with each other. Why are we
I know
arguing, Joey?
because you started arguing with me, Jesse.
Sounded like
Because you
you started
started.
arguing to me. Okay, I gotta
Because
play.
you're
You know what? When I post this episode, I gotta rewatch this to see how this argument started.
a whole big bunch of just, oh, hey, you could have definitely been.
I thought it was pretty profitable. Oh well, I thought people watched it.
Yeah, that one thing, not like as a whole, Mickey Mouse as a whole.
Right. And I said, I'm like, it's just a meme show though. And they're like, well, it doesn't seem like it. It's pretty profitable. I'm like, that's
I said it
what
was a meme show, but I think meme shows can be plenty profitable. Teen Titan Go is pretty profitable.
that one's a little bit more. They found out how to do crossovers and shit. I actually think Teen Titans Go Over is bigger than its britches in a lot of things.
I don't know. It's just one of those things. Just, it's profitable, but it's not, profitable enough to keep Mickey Mouse above Winnie the Pooh. I think is the point.
I mean, Winnie the Pooh will always be more profitable because he's marketed to little kids. That's the same thing with Pokemon as it's
Everybody
for me.
loves Winnie the Pooh. My sister bought me a Winnie the Pooh uh, shirt for
There,
Christmas
yeah,
last year. It was like, yeah.
so can you prove I'm factually wrong that Winnie the Pooh is meant for kids? Look at the story writing. Look at the way
We
they
we
talk.
literally started this conversation with me looking at Grappy and like, hey, Winnie the Pooh is more profitable. I've already
Right.
proved it to myself.
What I'm saying is dictating that who it's being sold to and why it would be, not that it is or is not.
Listen, the point is, Pokemon's the most profitable franchise of the world right now.
Yeah. Which means that it has farther to fall when it finally fucks up because they don't put a lot of effort into their games.
The cracks are the cracks. I keep saying the cracks are showing every time they release a new game, but it still does not fall. I'm
Oh,
waiting
I
for
mean,
that straw to break the camel's
it,
back
it,
on that
it
one.
takes more than 20, 10, 20 years for a big empire to fall, man.
Yeah. I don't know.
But
Rome burned in a day.
huh?
Rome burned down in a day.
Yeah, but that's not okay. All right, Jesse.
What?
I mean, are you saying you want to set fire to Game Freak's
No.
headquarters or something? Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have an admission.
just, just be like, I don't know. 20 years is probably way too long for a thing to fall. I've seen franchises fall pretty quickly.
I mean, yes, but none that are that big. Like if we're thinking back,
Well,
has Mario fallen yet?
was that?
Has Mario fallen yet? Has Sonic fallen yet? Even though he's made a bunch of trash games.
Okay. Sonic is weird. Because Sonic is
No,
like
Sonic is a good example.
held together like by some sort of necromancy. It should be
No,
dead.
I mean they did try to kill it with Shadow the Hedgehog in a couple of your favorite games. So you know, but I guess people like you are like, I think it's fine.
Okay, so with Sonic, I think it was mostly kept afloat by a lot of the side stuff that people still loved. Because,
You
fan
mean
artists and stuff.
no? It's furry bait. It's furry bait.
Yeah, Furgate.
Cause like Archie Comics Sonic made them hypersexual even though they were teenagers. And some people are just monsters and freaks like that are into that shit.
Plus, as I've mentioned several times, like, what constitutes a bad game is very highly objective. I love Sonic Heroes. A lot of people think it's a terrible game because it's a glitchy mess. But as we've registered, like earlier in this conversation, I don't mind glitches so much. So to me, like
Right.
Sonic Heroes is a fantastic game. Love it. Not part of the Sonic Dark ages. Other people disagree with me on that one.
Yeah, it's the entryway in my mind. And there's a good reason I have to dictate that. So first things first, the reason that the glitches exist and what they do are two different things. If a glitch exists because they couldn't get a product done or what have you, and there's a little bit of a collision issue here or there, whatever, I don't care. It makes the game nigh unplayable in some instances, and that's a problem. And that's something that if you're defending, that's on you. You're being like objectively just for something that is bad in a game. That is
So
not good.
I think another thing, and this is another reason why I think Sonic is held together by weird necromancy, is that I think people really enjoy it when a Sonic game is bad in a way that like other
Oh,
game franchises and stuff
no, they
can't be held.
don't. I can tell you the reason why it's held together because I've actually looked through this, if you would like.
Because Well, I think it's just like a lot of people love Shadow the Hedgehog, not because they think it's a good game, because they think it's hilarious.
Some people do. It's actually not a lot. Same with Black Knight, Seven Rings, Heroes.
Okay,
Some people
I
like them,
think Black Knight is better than people think it is. I do. I genuinely think that one's better than
but
people
it's
think it
not.
is.
But it's not.
It's on my list
It,
of Let's Plays to be like, yeah, I
it,
think this game is better than people think it is.
dude, you better not bring me on. I'm gonna tear that son of a bitch apart.
All right.
You thought you were mean during Terranigma. Holy shit.
All right, we can
You're
do.
like, oh, great. Did you jump and spin again, Jesse? What do you do this time? Do
Jump
you
and
jump and
spin.
spin? Oh, wait, can you go backwards? Oh, you can walk backwards
You can
slowly. Great. How's
backflip
your
backwards.
momentum? How's, how's the momentum doing in this game? How's the momentum trick? Oh, you stopped it completely because you missed a thing? Oh, great. Isn't that fun? What a good Sonic game. Man, what a good game. By the way, he has a sword. Why does he need a sword? He can move at light speed. This is useless. What the hell? This is as dumb as Shadow the Hedgehog. And not in a good way. This is garbage, and I hate it. And Sonic and the Seven Rings could have been better, even. I'll tear that game apart, Jesse. You better be ready.
Alrighty then.
Because, man, I hate that game. And its lack of fucking polish and fucking lack of cohesive, sensical storytelling. And what does he want for his wish? A chili dog? Fucking shut
Oh,
up.
that's Sonic and Secret Rings. Fuck Sonic and Secret Rings.
Dude, that was the big thing that he got. Like, he had the chili dog from his wish at the beginning of the Black Knight. That was the whole thing.
Okay, but that scene is hilarious. I love that scene.
No, it's dumb. It doesn't characterize Sonic as anything more than what they did in the last game, which is I just like chili dog, and that's it. And he has more personality than that. I know he does. Mario shows more personality without talking than Sonic does while yelling his catchphrase. And that is an unfortunate truth that I had to come to terms with while I was playing Odyssey. And I'm like, wow, there's a very different feel on how interactions are done in this game.
I mean,
As
that
to how
Mario
they were
actually has a
done.
personality in Odyssey to a certain extent.
I mean, Mario has a personality in most of the games he plays. It's just nonverbal personality. But like the point here is even his nonverbal personality is better than a lot of Sonic's voice personality in those games during the Dark Era. The only person who ever emoted anything really that was like outside of oh yeah, better speed, Keith, like the '90s jock shithead was a Shadow, who was the 2000s scene girl.
Can't wait for the Let's Play of the entire Sonic franchise. All of it.
I can totally wait. I can
We
wait.
could
as
probably
long as
skip.
you-
Though we could probably skip the 2D games just to get to the good stuff, you know? The juicy stuff.
But like, wouldn't you want to play Superstars?
Wait, which
Like-
Superstars?
Sonic Superstars, the new one, the new game they're coming.
Oh, the new one. Yeah. Yeah, I'll play it. I don't know what it was with Superstars, but I feel like it's not gonna be as good as Mania. I got like a weird pit in my stomach that's like something about this don't feel right.
People who like are pretty objective have already played it and said it plays like butter. So
It plays like what?
like butter.
Okay.
So like I don't think you got a lot to be worried about. Which is good.
Is it still good in co-op? Because I worry about Sonic in co-op. Mario could barely handle the co-op.
They have multiplayer too, so I don't see why they wouldn't be able to.
Alright, well, fair enough.
But yeah, no, I mean, big thing here though is I think Sonic All Stars, Sonic Mania, fuck Sonic Forces, but so all this stuff, what I think were the good mainline.
and that means that I will not be including Sonic Math. Unfortunately, I know everybody's disappointed. Everybody wanted to do math with Sonic the Hedgehog,
Myth with Sonic the Hedgehog.
but I think Sonic One is still belongs on the good list because of what it did, but it has not held up as a game, unfortunately. I think Sonic 2 is good. I think Sonic 3 is good. I think Sonic 3's expansion with Knuckles is good. I think Sonic CD is good. I think Sonic 3D Blast is okay. Uh, I think Sonic Adventure is just like Sonic 1. It hasn't aged great, but it's still fun. Sonic Adventure 2, same thing. It's very glitchy, but it's still fun. Sonic Heroes, very glitchy. This is the downward slope.
Okay, so one thing I learned about Sonic Heroes specifically is it actually depends on what version you're playing, because the different systems are completely different levels of glitch.
So I played it on Xbox, PS2, and GameCube.
Xbox, I hear, is the absolute worst.
It was pretty rough on Xbox, but it was pretty bad on GameCube and PS2.
Okay.
Like there were glitches that could make the game unplayable on all three, which makes it a net loss, I think. I lost my train of thought. Oh, Seven Rings is garbage. Black Knight is garbage. I'll expound as to why, because we have a defender in here. Seven Rings and Black Knight have the exact same momentum device in the game that people deem as bad. So I don't see why I should change my opinion for one just because he has a sword. The sword fighting is garbage if you compare it to any type of comprehensive and cohesive sword scaling in any of the Wii's catalog. The missions are so by the book, it's actually upsettingly redundant. The same thing as Seven Ring. The story itself is pretty garbage for an isekai. Like, would not watch on an anime scale. The armor is very on.
I do want to make one thing about Sonic the Black Knight clear. I think it gets a bad rep. I still don't think it's a great game. I think it's just a good game.
It's as bad. I've explained some of the things that they have that are exactly the same. The engine itself is exactly the same.
Oh yeah.
They didn't like build anything new for it. Is that a couple of new motions or a change to hitbox? And then the missions are all basically the same mission over and over again. So this is indefensible in my mind. It's redundancy on top of redundancy, and that makes it a bad game. And in a lot of games,
see, this is hard for me to argue against because a lot of the stuff I have to argue against that are like very technical and need like me to be like, and this is why I think you're wrong while playing the game. So it's like
I get you, but that's the only way I can actually like say objective things. Otherwise, it's not objective. But I will dictate that the story is similar enough to the previous game that it is kind of seeming like it didn't have a leg to stand on its own. It didn't try to do anything different. It didn't pull from anything different. It literally made Knuckles again. It made Blaze. You know what I mean? It didn't change the characterizations of any characters in a way that would have been interesting to see. It didn't. It just gave them armor. Well, armor, quotation marks. There was barely any armor on. The swords looked cool. They looked like, well, okay. Knuckles was literally just the razor sword from Majora's Mask, but like, they looked cool. So, I mean, the big thing I want to get at here is, while I think Black Knight is a little better than Seven Rings, it's built off of everything the same way. And that doesn't make it a good game. That was what made Seven Rings a bad game, and that's what makes this a bad game.
Again, I can't really argue because a lot of the stuff I have to argue needs the game in front of it for me to be like, this is why.
No, I get you. I'm just going through the technical aspects that everybody else has talked about. Because
no, that's fine.
If I'm going to do it, that's what I have to do. Because that's the only objective way you can talk about these things. Is how broken is a Sonic game? Is it this broken that it can be played? or is it this broken that they had problems and they chose not to fix them? That's even more indefensible to me than just making a game expecting it to be good, is making another game after the last one was thought to be bad and keeping it the same. But moving on to Shadow the Hedgehog, it was a solid idea to have Shadow like take people out, have his own game. The control scheme for his movement isn't terrible. The gunplay is dumb. They shouldn't have had that. They should have had like a combo system with like hand to hand. Because why does he need a gun? He can run faster than the bullets. Why does he need a
like what they were trying to do in 06, but better. But not trash.
Yeah, I mean, a little better.
You know what?
It's,
Project 06 shows what they should have done with him.
I agree. I agree 100%. I think Project 06 is one of the good games. If it was a legit release, it would have been a perfect start point for a reboot, because that was the reboot of the
Which
universe.
I am so glad. For years, ever since Sonic 06 came out, I was like, they need to remake a Sonic 06. They could do it right. I think it would be a good game. And everybody fucking called me crazy. Everybody called me crazy. I was like, I was right.
No. That's not a remake anymore. It's a retooling.
Oh, retooling, same thing.
Different.
Point is,
They had to remod it with a bunch of different things and change the fundamental scale of how the engine
point
runs.
is, if they remake the game and make it good, I feel like it could have been a good game, and they did. Is the point?
I'm sorry, buddy. That's a really dumb thing to say about literally any game that's ever existed. Man, if only they remade Ghostbusters for the NES. They could make it a good game if they remade it.
I only say that for games where fundamentally and with its skeleton could be a good game.
The skeleton of 06 was pretty bad. They had to redo that, was what I was saying. Retooling means they have to play with the skeleton to make it work. The only thing that looked good in it was maybe like some character designs and shit like that, and some area designs, but that's it. Sonic 06 fundamentally was a broken game. Like that was why people hated it before Sonic Boom came out so much, because that shit was busted. They sold us a broken game, Jesse, and that's definitely not the devs' fault fully. I mean, that is Sega rushes their devs famously.
I don't know. Anyways, I think.
But
oh, sorry.
What else were we gonna? I was gonna go on, and then I was gonna figure out like the next thing we were gonna talk about real quick, because there was another thing we were gonna talk about after the Unity thing.
Well, this episode's been going on for an hour, so I think for the next thing,
let's do another one.
Yeah, we'll just do another episode. So, yeah, I hope y'all had fun.
Hardy.
Bye.